Aloha, my beautiful friends. Here we are, live once again. Every Sunday, I come live for our Flow State Tribe and community. And today is a very special day. Last night, actually, was the official conjunction of Venus and the Sun in the sign of Libra. Oh, I gotta live once again. And it's in the sign of Libra, which hasn't been for several hundreds of years. So it's actually a very beautiful time. And it depends, if you're into astrology, depends on who you talk to, because some people might say that it's in Scorpio because if they're into Vedic astrology and things like that. But basically, Libra is the sign that is ruled by Venus. And Venus is the planet of love and beauty and abundance and all these beautiful things. So when Venus is in the sign of Libra, which it was last night, what happens is it's called exalted. So that means that it's in its home and it feels the most like at home there. And so perhaps you had anything in your life that happened yesterday. I'd love to hear about it. If you want to share in the comments, or if you're in the live stream, part of our community, you're welcome to unmute and share, because this is such an interesting thing. Now, it doesn't mean that only beautiful, loving things happen, but sometimes things can be a message. Like, for example, I had a really beautiful day yesterday, and I'll share about it if you want. But like I said, if at any point you want to share about what's going on with you, please do in the comments, or let me know if you want to unmute yourself and we can let you share. But basically, what happened was, it was one of those interesting days where, I went outside. I was here with my assistant and her little girl who's 9 years old, and we were playing, and she was playing with the puppies. We went outside, and actually, I stepped on a bee, and I got stung by a bee on my foot. I'll show you. It's actually really swollen, and I can't even walk. So this is a good example of something that's positive, but that isn't pleasant. So I wanted to bring that up because a lot of times, we think like, oh, all these beautiful things should be happening, and then like all of a sudden like something's happening that's not beautiful, and we kind of judge that, and we're like, okay, why does the universe hate me when everybody else is like in the beautiful energy of whatever blessings that they're and then all of a sudden I'm over here getting stung by a bee or whatever, or whatever kind of situation. It could be anything, like all sorts of crazy stuff. So what I did was I decided to look it up. And this is what I suggest. If anything ever crosses your path and you're like, WTF, what the fuck is going on? Basically, Google it. Google's like my favorite friend because I go on there. So I'm like, okay, what is the meaning of a bee sting, right? Or like another way of Googling it could be like bee sting meaning, or stepping on a bee. I actually stepped on it, so it was a little different. It didn't just like land on me. I stepped on the bee. Anyway, so there was like interesting, like thousands of articles about what the meaning of this is. And so, you can kind of look deeper into what is the universe telling you, because a lot of times the universe is literally speaking to us all the time. Like every single moment of life is nothing other than a conversation between us and the universe and our soul, our higher self, and our physical self. And then the interactions that we have is literally just a revealing or an unveiling or a constant unfolding of the story of our lives. And the story of your life, it's constantly like being revealed through what you're attracting, right? And we don't need to judge that. It doesn't need to be like, oh, the bee, and then there's all this negative, and it must be something wrong with me, and I have bad karma or something. Like, instead of putting all of that projection or labels onto what is the meaning of it. Oh my God, this little puppy is like throwing up. Baby! Sorry guys, I have to get this puppy. Little one! Papa! Come here, please. What is going on? Little Papa! What the heck is happening? Oh my God, you guys. The little one. She's like throwing up and gagging. Are you okay, little one? Oh my God. Having these dogs is like having real children. So when they're like throwing up or whatever is going on, I'm like, oh my god, I have to take care of this. Oh, it looks like he ate some grass. That might have been the culprit. Sorry, guys. I had to do a little detour. This is Bear. This is the little bear. He's like, hi, guys. I'm the Fluffy. My Fluffy. Are you okay, babies? He seems to be fine now. He was really, like, sick for a second. Say hi, guys. Hi. I am the epitome of the cutest thing that ever lived. Don't you guys think? Hi. How's it going? He seems to be fine, but I'm going to hold him to make sure that he stays okay. Oh my goodness. This is like my initiation into my being a mother. I have 4 children. Actually, I have 5 children because the mother is also a baby. Okay, anyway, back to what we're saying. So basically, something comes into your life, instead of okay, so instead of saying, projecting onto it, this is bad or this is good, it's like, okay, what is this telling me? What is this teaching me? Or what is this revealing for me? That's really how I like to look at life with fascination and curiosity, instead of looking at life through a lens of like somehow it's very personal, right? like what's wrong with me? Why do I attract these things, right? Because you could look at it both ways, and like one way is very disempowering and makes you feel like a victim. The other way, it's very empowering and it makes you feel like you're the creator. And so when you take responsibility and you're saying, okay, I'm the creator of this, I attracted this for whatever reason, let me look at this, let me look at what is the blessing of this, or what is the message of this. And then when you learn that lesson, or at least allow that lesson or that message to guide you deeper into your healing, that's when the entire experience of life becomes really mystical, right? Because then it's no longer like things happening to you like arbitrarily. Nothing literally happens arbitrarily. I really don't think things happen arbitrarily. Even when you look back on it and you're like, oh, I can see why that happened. Leave a comment if you feel that way too, where you can look back on your life and you say, oh, I can see why that happened. Or even just recently, could have been like today, but you're like, I can see why this is happening in my life right now. I can see why this theme is coming up. I can see that this is where I'm ready to up level in my life. I can see where these relationship dynamics are over and I'm done with that. And like literally like just cutting those cords and taking your power back and rising into a new level of your self-worth, self-love, self-confidence, and your alignment with your divine purpose of life. That is I feel like the only reason that anything happens in our life is so that we can do that. So it's like all these opportunities, right? So if you look at it like, okay, this person is stealing from me. Like, for example, I had a lot of crazy stuff like that happen in my life where like people would steal from me all the time and like use me and all these really weird things. And I was like, I know that it's not like karma, let's say, because I don't steal from anybody. I'm not using anybody. So I was looking at it like, okay, what is this teaching me? Then it took me like down a deep, deep, deep rabbit hole, we'll call it, like an exploration into the deeper core of my inner child. Okay, so you can go to your inner child. This is what we did last week in our live session, or 2 weeks ago perhaps. But anyway, we did the inner child meditation. But basically, when you look at your inner child, you connect with the inner child and you look and you see and you feel, what is the energy of this child, right? So I'll give you an example. This is very personal and very vulnerable for me to share. But anyway, I'll share it because I think it can be helpful. So I looked at my inner child and I felt, and I actually saw, because I'm very visual. Not everybody can visualize, but like I saw it and I felt it. This feeling of when I was a little girl, because my mother and father are both addicted to drugs and like alcohol, and they just basically abandoned themselves. Which when you abandon yourself and you have children, you're abandoning your children too. So it's like they didn't do it on purpose, but that's what happened. So anyway, they abandoned themselves, they abandoned us, abandoned life. And then, so from the child's perspective, the child doesn't know anything. They just feel, right? So they're like, I feel like reaching out to get love, or reaching out for recognition, or reaching out for support or anything. Like I felt this energy where I was like, as a child, reaching out and nothing was coming back. And it was this feeling of like at first you could say, okay, like abandonment, like there's so many wounds that go with that, right? So if you have these wounds, you can look at your own story and see if it's relative for you, or maybe you have different ones. But basically, abandonment stories, not feeling supported, not feeling lovable, not feeling love, or like that when you give you don't receive back, so not feeling worthy of receiving. It can also be very intimately connected to your abundance consciousness and because like the energy of support, abandonment, or not receiving, all of those are energies that block the flow of abundance consciousness, right? So it's like when you don't feel worthy of receiving, of course you're going to be having a lot of struggles with financial abundance, because that requires a total opposite energy, which is like open to receive, and like that things come to you easily. Like I had a boyfriend one time, he was the opposite. He told me one time, he's like, money just flies at me. And he was not joking, like literally. I mean, he was like a really famous like fitness model, and he had like millions of fans, but he built himself up from nothing. Like he was a skinny little like kind of drug addict, and then he kind of like changed his whole life, became super hot and like sexy and like fit, and like he was so smart at the internet. He was able to, like, when you Googled six pack, he came up first on Google. Like he was so smart at marketing and marketing himself particularly. Anyway, so it was very interesting to watch him, because he was like experiencing the polar opposite of me, where I felt like I worked so hard and I gave and gave and gave, and everyone just stole from me and like used me. And I was like, man, and here I was attracting this guy, and it was interesting because he was using me too, but he didn't even realize it. But like the dynamic was important for me to realize like how deep in the core of me it was, because I was like allowing him to do that because it was so comfortable, because I was used to it, because it was a program that I had been running from my childhood. Anyway, this is very, very personal, but the point is that you can look at your own situation. You say, okay, like where in my situations, where in my relationship dynamics do I see a mirror? And the mirror can be a reflection of the opposite too, like I was saying. So I attracted him, and he's like, money just flies at me. And it was true. Like he had these brands, like whatever, let's say Gymshark or any of these like fitness apparel companies. He had these brands like $40,000, please just like wear our clothes and we'll pay you. And and it was like interesting, because everyone else is like, I don't know, trying to figure out how to make money in life, right? And then he was just like, they're like, just wear our clothes and we'll give you lots of money. And he's like, I need clothes, so all right, I'll try it. So it's like an interesting thing, because like life will always give you, right, exactly what you need to see in order to like evolve and to grow and to heal. And if you don't have this understanding, then you don't grow, evolve, and heal. Instead, you just keep repeating these patterns and going like, wow, it keeps happening, like what's going on here? And like stay in what they call in yoga, the word for that is samsara. So samsara is a cyclical loop of suffering where you just keep repeating the patterns over and over. And it can happen for lifetimes. It's not just even like for like 1 year. It's like, could be like lifetimes and lifetimes of samsara that you're repeating these patterns until you have the awareness. So the awareness is the first step, right? And that's why in yoga we teach what we call mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness meditation in large part has to do with, first and foremost, being like committed to your awareness. So your awareness is that whatever is happening, you're seeing it from the observer perspective instead of just like the personal. Because when it's personal, you feel like emotional attachment to it sometimes. You feel like hurt by it. You feel emotions from the experience. Whereas when you step outside of that and you see it from a higher perspective, or you could say like the observer, we call it the witness or the observer perspective. There's even a whole science called OCR, observer created reality, where you literally look at your life and you see, you want to go down there, Pop? Look at your life and you see from the observer. So it's like almost like it's not even you looking at your life. It's someone outside of you. And who is this someone? That's your higher consciousness. That's your God self, right? That's the divine aspect of you that's looking at your life from an outside perspective with total discernment and absolute honesty and truth, right? So the ego, which is the lower self, likes to like kind of color things and make them what we want them to be, right? So we're like, actually this, and we put meanings onto it. But when you go from the higher self, you don't do that, because you just go, oh, I see what it is, and you see it clearly and you see it as it is, and then you're able to make better decisions, right? So from that, you look at it and you're like, okay, so I see that I've attracted this, and now I see that it's been a pattern, and I know that I want to have a different situation. So what can I change, not only in my decisions, in my actions, but in my core energy, in my frequency at the core of me, so I can be more in alignment with my higher self and release whatever this deep program vibration is that's attracting this mirror that's showing me what needs to be healed, right? Does this make sense? Leave a comment if it's making sense. And also if you have any questions. I don't know, I just felt like sharing about this because today's this like special day of Venus, and it's supposed to be like the first time in like hundreds of years that Venus is like doing this 5-pointed star and all these things. And it's like the energy of Venus is so powerful. But one aspect of that, which we are talking about today, which is self-love. Because there's the energy of love, which a lot of people think of Venus and they think of romantic love. So you think like, oh, two people, like couple goals or whatever, which is nice too. But like actually the core of any of that is self-love. So if we're not feeling self-love or experiencing self-love, then of course we're not going to attract the mirror that will reflect that, right? We'll attract the mirror that doesn't treat us well, or that's not available, or that whatever, lies to us, or does these weird things, or pushes us away, or like has this like polarity that doesn't seem to line up, right? So those are the energies that seem to come when we in ourselves are carrying those frequencies in the core of our inner child, which comes from usually traumas that we're carrying. Let's see, Justine says, this resonates with what I'm experiencing in life right now. Oh wow, good. I'm happy to hear that it is. You know, I feel like anytime that something comes to me, I like channeling like a message. I feel like, you know what? I'm sure more than one person is experiencing this, probably many. And what I aim for at the Flow State Institute, what we're really focusing on here is not just that you become a yoga teacher, but that you become an enlightened being that knows how to see clearly and can heal yourself and can see clearly and help others heal themselves, because that's what makes you an extraordinary teacher, healer, coach, whatever you want to call yourself, because in the end of the day, anybody can teach someone how to stretch their hamstrings. I mean, that's a very low value task, and they don't really pay millions of dollars to do that. But if you want to become a high value, very successful person, whatever you want to call it, like a teacher, coach, healer, whatever, that you want to learn the deeper aspects of this path. And the spiritual path is really a beautiful path. And I feel like, obviously, once you get on the spiritual path, you're never going to I'm not going to say never, I don't know, some people might renounce the spiritual path, but overall, generally, once you're on it, it's for life, because it's hard to turn back and be like, I'm just going to like pretend I don't know that I'm a spirit. I'm just going to pretend that I don't know that all these things that are happening are actually like mirrors for me. And I'm just going to like sit here and block all that like awareness. It's never, I don't know if I say never, but basically it seems like impossible to me that you could even do that. It would never happen for me, but I think maybe some people maybe, but the point is this. Once you're on the path, it's for life. And usually if it's for this life, it's for every life after, so it's like literally you're on, it's like you got on the train, you're going, you know what I'm saying? So like now being on this train, which is we call it the spiritual path and part of the Flow State tribe especially, your number one priority should be in becoming enlightened. And when I say enlightened, like there's a lot of convolution around what that means, because you could say like, who's enlightened? Like you see these enlightened gurus and you say, okay, like what makes someone enlightened and when someone's not enlightened? I think the key or the best description I've ever heard about an enlightened being is that the happiness or the feeling, the good feeling, flow, bliss, joy is never affected by external circumstances. So no matter what happens outside of you, you are the calm in the storm. And if you can maintain that, like you're the happy, peaceful, joyous, eternal presence, regardless of what's happening, regardless of circumstances, situations, whatever's arising, that's all out there. But the inner experience stays in the joyous presence of love. So that's my description of enlightenment. I mean, everybody has probably their own. But anyway, so when it comes to the flow state tribe, I feel like everybody should be on some kind of commitment to that. Why not? Why wouldn't you want to be the eternal presence of joy, regardless of external circumstances? You know what I mean? So like ultimately it's a worthy aspiration for all beings to aspire for that. Now some people might be a little more pessimistic and be like, oh, that's not even realistic. Like how could that be possible? But if you think about it, why is it not possible? Think about this, and Justine, you can tell me or Haley or anybody who's here, if you've had this experience where something crazy was happening and you remained calm and you felt really clear and you were like, it's all going to be fine. Like, so the experience of enlightenment, they say is that instead of putting any kind of judgment or label on what's happening, it just is. And it's not that it's good or bad or perfect or divine even. It just is. And not having any charge around it. There's no like relationship to it where you're like, and I feel the pain of the world. Although that's okay too. I mean, I'm that person. I'm an empathic person. I feel the pain of the world. But over time, I have come to a place where I'm at peace with the pain of the world even, because I know that I'm doing everything in my power all the time to bring healing, loving energy to the world. So I'm doing my part. I'm living my purpose. Therefore, the pain of the world is no longer pain in me. Instead, it becomes transmuted and transformed into a new energy, which is purpose. So your pain can become your purpose. And the pain of the world can become your purpose. Mine, it was both. My pain became my purpose, and then the pain of the world is also a big part of my driving motivation, because think about it. If people were not suffering, like what do we have to help anybody? So like it actually gives us purpose that they're suffering in the world. So I'm not saying glad about it, but think about it. If that didn't exist, then what would be your purpose? Okay, yeah, you could find a different thing. You could just paint, you know what I mean? But think about it, like ultimately, like whatever the problems of the world gives purpose to the people. So that's kind of one of the sort of like I call it a cosmic joke of life, is that like we have to have dark to have light. And everybody wants like all the darkness to be eradicated from the planet, which would be nice. I mean, I would love to see no more wars, no more famine, no more starving people who don't have water. I mean, this is like ridiculous. Why do we have that? But if you think about it, we're at a time in history where humanity is given the opportunity because of the internet, because we have the ability to see that there are millions of people with no water and no food and that they're starving and there's wars. Because we can see that because there's internet, it's making it in a way better because it's bringing awareness to it. So then people that feel inspired to help that are able to help that. Now, before the internet, for example, there were still people starving and all the things were still going on. Wars were going on. All of that was happening the whole time from the beginning of time, like thousands and thousands of years, maybe millions of years. That was always happening. But the internet wasn't showing it to everyone. So that like people on the other side of the planet were not inspired and motivated to help. So it was more like a local problem. It's like, okay, those people are war in Africa. It's a local problem. Nobody in, let's say, Asia or something, we're like trying to help or something. Now everybody who sees the problems of the world, who cares about humanity and the planet, is being motivated and inspired to help. So we're at a unique transition from the old paradigm, which is there was still always a lot of problems, but like they were local problems that weren't really being solved because it wasn't public to the world. Now we're at a point where all the problems are like public to the world, and it can be overwhelming. Leave a comment if you feel overwhelmed by the amount of problems on the planet. When you see the news, you see war, you see people being treated poorly, child sex trafficking, you see starving people, people with no drinking water. I mean, literally, that's just a few of the many, many problems on the planet. But like when you see it, if you have half a heart, you can't help but feel, oh my God, like we need to fix this. We need to fix this whole broken planet or the broken systems that have led to this. Because that's really what it comes down to. You know, I've been working with the school systems now with the Children of the Future initiative, and it's very interesting because it's the school systems that are broken, that are causing, it's like a sick system, and it's causing a perpetuation of continuous suffering with the children and the teachers. But what I've learned is that the schools don't even prioritize the children or the teachers. They're prioritizing the politics and all this other stuff that doesn't like have anything to do with school. School is like children and teachers. That's basically all that school like matters about school. And at the same time, they don't prioritize. They put that at like number 20 on the list of priorities. And that's why over 50% of children have mental health issues. 25% of all children right now want to kill themselves. Over 53% of children, teachers are so burned out, they want to quit the profession. This is huge numbers. We're talking 50% and higher amounts of people that are like suffering from this sick system that's broken. So it's really about fixing the systems, because if you try to fix the people, that can make a small impact. But if the system stays broken, the impact is staying limited. If we fix a system, then all of a sudden everything heals. So I would love to see in our lifetime that's what happens, is that the systems start to change. Like, for example, that's why everybody got so stoked about Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency, was because they saw it as a hope of a new financial system. Because the current financial system that's in place is broken, obviously, because you have, like we said, millions of people, billions of people starving and without the basic needs being met. And yet you have lots of people that are billionaires that have more than enough, and it's just like a very imbalanced system. So the hope, or whatever, the vision of, I think, crypto, which is the vision of anybody who's holding space for a new financial system, is that there could be a system where the money is distributed in such a way that nobody is without the basic needs of life, right? Minimum. And then beyond that like everything is feeding everything else. So it's a symbiotic and beautiful, nourishing system. And the relationship between the humans and the planet, and the humans and each other, and the humans and the animals, all of this is broken right now. But the system, like as we start to see small changes, we're seeing small changes, we can see overall, over the longer term, perhaps, hopefully, new systems in place. And I think that's what people are aiming for. You have to have better governments in place. So that's kind of the problem. But ultimately, I think it's going to happen in our lifetime. I mean, I'm 41 right now. I know I'm going to live to at least 150. I don't know about you guys, but so 110 more years, right? I feel we will see a whole different system in place. Can I get an amen? Are you with me? When I was a little girl, my mother, she used to say "a women," because we had four children. We're all girls, and so instead of amen, she'd be like "a women." So anyway, can I get an "a women"? Okay, we had a few comments here. Justine said, had to stop watching the news a few years ago. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, because I don't watch the news. Like, I don't turn on the TV and the news is on. But you can't help it. Like, I'm on YouTube, I'm on social media, I see it. It's always there, and it's in my face. And also because I do like to stay up to date on a few things, because it helps. Because as I'm more aware, like this is what I was talking about, mindfulness. As you're more aware of what's really happening, on the global level and also on the personal, internal level. That's what we started the conversation, which is about what's going on inside of you, your inner child trauma, what's reflecting to you. But then we look at the macro and we say, what is the world reflecting? And the world is reflecting tremendous, broken, sick systems that need to change. And that's what people know that. I mean, there's lots of people that know that are working on making that change. But the biggest issue is that the change has to come from like these governments, and the governments are the problem in a way, so it's tricky. But anyway, okay. Haley says, yeah, I don't watch news or listen to radio years ago. Amen. Yeah, exactly, Haley. So it's one of those things. I'm not suggesting at all that you should watch the news or any of that. But what I'm saying is that when you have an awareness about the world, right? First of all, you can find your purpose within it. And then the other aspect of that is your awareness of yourself and how the world, or like the physical reality, is reflecting always to us what we need to see. And that is our, if you think about, like, if it was like the movie The Matrix or something, right? So it's like, there's no synchronicities in life. Literally everything is happening exactly because it's the way it needs to happen for you, for us, for me, for each individual to see what they need to see in that moment to grow. And if we don't see it, if we choose to keep like ostrich, our head in the sand, and we don't want to see it, then we stay in the samsara, the cyclical cycle of suffering. And that's what the Buddhists teach. Many of the traditions that I follow, that I've studied, they all teach the same thing. So it's like, okay, so now the key to getting out of that is like looking at your patterns, right? And seeing, where am I stuck in a pattern of suffering? Or where am I not aware? Or not seeing clearly, for example. So those are all questions to ask yourself, because in the end of the day, there's nothing more important than that. Like, we can get so sidetracked with all the like distractions of life, right? There's all these things. I mean, I'll give you an example. So fascinating what happened to me this week. I mean, besides we're getting stung by a bee, which is a very small thing. No, the big thing that happened, which was I deposited a check into my Bank of America account, which I have had for 20 years. 20 years I've been with Bank of America. A very good customer of them, or whatever, client. But at the end of the day, in the back of my mind and heart, for years I've wanted to get out of Bank of America because I know that they're one of the worst banks about, they use the money that they have to fund the war and to pay for the oil. And so they're literally like the worst, because they're using your money and then they're like putting it towards the destruction of the planet. And I knew that, but then I was having a hard time because it was like, when you've been with a bank for 20 years, everything is intertwined with that. All your accounts are linked to it, like all of these other things. You just also habitual. It's comfortable because you know how to use it properly. It's like all of that was the reason that I stayed there. Anyway, this week I went to deposit a check and the check wouldn't deposit. And I was like, well, that's weird. I mean, I was putting money in the bank and it wouldn't allow me to. And I called them and they said, oh, we closed your account starting Monday, basically this next week, you cannot use the account anymore. It's going to be officially closed. Any money that's still in there, we'll mail it to you as a check. I said, is there any reason you want to give me? Or you just, no reason? He's like, we don't have to give a reason. I was like, wow, like, what is that? So my first, at first I was like I said earlier, what the fuck, right? And you look at life, you're like, why is shit like that going on? I did see recently Kanye West got kicked out of a bank for saying something about White Lives Matter or something weird. And I thought about it, like, maybe it had to do, I posted the other day on my Instagram story something that Candace Owens had shared about something controversial. I was like, maybe they're watching. I mean, they have all these algorithms. They might be able to link you to a Instagram story that you shared about a controversial topic and then all of a sudden cut you off from the banking. Possibly. You know, I don't know if that's it. But anyway, that might have been it. But really, we'll never know because they won't tell me. But the point is that instead of seeing it like a huge like problem, what I decided to do, even though it's a hassle, I see it as a blessing because the universe is literally helping me through this experience to do what I've been wanting to do for many years, which is getting out of that sick system of that bank and go into hopefully a healthier one. Like there are better banks. Like some banks do not fund oil or war, and they put the money towards like the local communities or, you know, various different things. So I have two other banks. I have Bank of Hawaii and I have this other one called Delta Community. Anytime a community bank, it's usually a community, it usually is the best one because they generally never fund wars and stuff because they're really about the local community. So I have a local community bank and then I also have a Hawaii bank. The Hawaii one's not the best because it's far away and things like that. But the point is that at least I have two other banks. But the bottom line is, this was the universe giving me that push to make that change that I had wanted to make for a long time, but that I was kind of like not doing because I was being lazy. You ever have these experiences? Leave a comment and let me know. I'd like to hear if you do. I got a lot of people over here on YouTube talking today. Let's see what they have to say. Hey, Dad. He said DMSO will disperse the venom. I used it once with a bad sting below my eye. Oh, I'll try that. Let's see. Hey guys, thanks for joining us over on YouTube. I see all these comments. Juan Pablo, good day to everyone. Good day to you, my friend. Tumo, feeling some ascension fatigue, and I can see why. Ego wanted to get to finish too fast, but that's not the purpose of this journey. Time to chill and recharge and not be in such a hurry. Hey, I love that. It's so true. I want to speak to this comment because it's such a good point. So often we can feel that we, like he said, want to get to the finish line, but the bottom line is there's no finish line. Literally, like, life is a journey. And as I just described, I really feel like I'm going to live another 110 years. So where's the finish line? You know, like, and what is the finish line? Like, then you're dead? And then you're done, and then that's the finish line? Or what is the finish line? That you're done with your healing journey? Because the healing journey, it's not about being done. I think what it's truly about is evolving to this, like we talked about, experience of an enlightened state of being where no matter what happens, because there's always going to be stuff going on, happening, whatever happens, that we are not taken down by that. We're not affected by it in a way that it disturbs our inner state of being. And that is the finish line. If you want to think of one. But it's not like that now you're healed and there's no other problems in the world or in your own life, because that will never happen. Almost like nobody, you know, think about it. Even Sadhguru or something has problems. Like, he's enlightened, but I remember a lot of people saying things like, Sadhguru killed his wife. He did not kill his wife. But anyway, there was a big controversy about that. People saying that he did. And here he is, an enlightened saint who is like dedicated his whole life to like helping the world. And yet there's like people kind of attacking his credibility with these stories. So you can see even the most enlightened people, even the most evolved consciousness is still getting some kind of challenges, right? So instead of thinking that all your problems will go away when you get there, instead the feeling is more like, I will not be affected by anything outside of myself. That's the finish line if you're going to try to aim for one. And it's not something that you're going to hurry to get to. You can get there right now. It's literally a choice. It's like, okay, how am I feeling in relation to what is coming into my world right now? And how am I choosing to, that's why we talked about earlier, be the observer or the witness of it, and like from an outside perspective versus from this place of victim or this feeling like that it's so personal that it hurts you. And that's really the work. That's the spiritual practice. Leanne says, Dashma, you look beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate that. You're so sweet. This is actually, I might wear this on Halloween. I was testing out a costume. But I like it. This is my Venetian Venus goddess of Venus outfit. Let's see. Leanne said, you have to leave a lot of family or friends out of your daily life for sure to have joy all the time. That's a good point. Let's see. You seemed pumped up. Hari Om. Hey, thank you. I am. Be mentally there, 100% vacation. I want you to bless me with your happiness. And so it is. I'm blessing you with your happiness. I love you too. Let's see. Someone says, you are my leader and chief. Hey, thank you. Happy to be here. That's communication, Dash. That's not just cool, but you should still have greedy people no matter what. Yeah, there's always going to be that. But I mean, ultimately, you have to just look at life and say, actually, regardless of what it is, I'm going to choose to see what's around me and in my field as a blessing and an opportunity to grow. Let's see. Be mentally there says, you look so beautiful today. Hey, I thank you. I wish I could see you once a month in person. Yeah, actually it's an interesting thing. Someone said that. I have this idea that I wanted to do where I want to do like a week or a month, every month do a live get together in Miami though. That's where I live. So if you live in Miami, we might be doing that soon and I will keep you posted on the information. Let's see. Leanne says, not all people want the same thing. No dictators, no dictating how people should live. Be mentally there says, I don't like the news, but I need to know what's going on. The nutty mainstream news is a fake news. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Lori says, watching on YouTube. Oh, goddess. Instead of Zoom, or I would have been late. No worries. Yeah, I'm so happy that you're here, goddess. Be mentally there. Can man join and follow you in this yoga flow state? Absolutely. We welcome men with open arms. I am always an advocate in trying to get more men on the spiritual journey in the flow state tribe because it's mostly women. And I'm always thinking to myself, ultimately, I feel that women are more committed to their spiritual growth. And I don't know why, in terms of sort of through the yoga tradition and through the yogic path, more women are into it. And I love to see that changing. I would like it to see 50-50. It should be more men on the spiritual path. I think a lot of men think that yoga is more a feminine practice, but it's not. It's an internal practice, which is not feminine or masculine, honestly. It's literally just the art and science of consciousness and awakening to your highest self and healing and the journey of wholeness. So that's not masculine or feminine. That's literally for everyone. Let's see, Justine says, maintaining that state of enlightenment is a lifelong journey. Exactly. That's a good point. So it's like the maintaining of it is what, the finish line. I mean, you know what I mean? There's no finish line because you have to maintain it. It's like you have a house. Let's say you're trying to get a house and you're like, I want this house. So the house feels like a finish line. But the bottom line is once you get the house, it's a non-stop continual journey every day to maintain the house. Otherwise, your house becomes a pile of garbage, and then you want a different house because you're like, this house is crap. So if you think about life like that, then you're like, okay, so my life is the house. I am the house. And so maintaining that connection to your soul, to your higher self, to spirit, to the divine light of God, and also your purpose and all of that, the tribe and community and everything, that is what will inevitably, that daily commitment to your path is what will inevitably bring you to that state of everlasting peace and joy. Because you sort of you surrender to this constant feeling that you are trying to get somewhere. Because that feeling of trying to get somewhere is so exhausting. I need to be there. It's horrible. I learned that actually over a lifetime of traveling because I love to travel. And for the past 12 to 14 years, I traveled the entire world full-time teaching retreats and teacher trainings and programs and speaking and doing things all over the world for 14 years basically. And it was always, I gotta pack to go to the next place, right? And so it's very exhausting to always be on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. And so the feeling of settling in to the beingness of here and now is so relieving. It's like, holy shit, I don't have to pack and go try to get there, this other place, because it's that loop of feeling like it's over there that it's going to be better. That's the old saying, the grass is greener on the other side. When people have this mentality that the grass is greener on the other side, it's a feeling of not enoughness. It's a feeling of discontentment with the present. And as long as you're in a state of discontentment with the present, you will never be fulfilled. And this is important to understand, because the feeling of fulfillment is like, all is well. Even if shit is falling apart. The world is on fire. Literally. Like, the world is literally flooding and on fire. Like, we all know that. But instead of sitting here crying about it and feeling sick about it and like, what can I do? Just align with your purpose. Find what you're here to do. And show up consistently with love. And keep doing it. That's all you can do. You're never gonna. No one person can save the whole world, first of all, and it wouldn't even be a worthy endeavor to try, because there's 8 billion people on the planet. But you can make your impact. You can make a ripple. I've impacted, I think, 100 million people in the world so far. Like I said, I have another 110 years. I'm just getting started, people. You know what I'm saying? You're just getting started. Wherever you are at on your journey or whatever you're doing, you're just getting started. So when you see it that way, you're like, all right, I got to settle into this journey. It's kind of like if you're going to be on a long flight, and this flight's, let's say, 30 hours, So you're not going to get on that flight and be like, can't wait to get there, like the whole time. It'll be very, very unpleasant flight. Instead, what I like to do is I utilize that flight to the optimization of my experience, right? So I'll say, okay, I'm going to visualize this next journey where I'm going to Bali, and these 30 days or this 2-3 weeks, whatever amount of time, or if you're coming with us to the January Flow State Teacher Training Retreat, 10 days, this experience is going to allow me to unlock this power that I have. My intention is to release all the blocks, all the energy that's been holding me back, any trauma, any vibration that's not in service to the highest. And through this journey, I'm visualizing myself coming out of that on another level, right? So this is a really worthwhile use of that kind of time. If you have 30 hours on a plane, you could also get your journal out, right? Journal about it. So the main thing is, instead of like, I can't wait to get there, you're there already in your consciousness. You're already there. You're already experiencing it. You're already the highest self. You've already done that. It's done. But now you have to go through the motions, because that's what the physical world is about. You got to do the thing. You got to put in the time. But the soul, the awareness, is that you're already there, and that it's already done, and that all your dreams already came true, and you're just living in a field of gratitude for that. How do you guys feel about that? That's my affirmation. That's my mantra. And on this beautiful, auspicious time of Venus, I thought I would share some of what's in my heart. Also, I wanted to mention, for anybody who's in our tribe and community who, actually coming up this week is the eclipse portal. And I want to support you all and invite you to join me. I'm doing a cleanse. Most people know I do cleanses like all the time. So I don't always talk about it, because it's like people be like, didn't you just do a cleanse? Like whenever I talk to my family, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing a cleanse. They're like, didn't you just do a cleanse? I'm like, I do it every month. It's not like I don't do it all the time. I do it all the time. But when I'm sort of inspiring others to do it every now and again, at least, just do it once if you've never done it. But once you've done it once, get into a rhythm with it. Like I like to do it every month for the full moon and the new moon. But especially during eclipse portals, I encourage you to do it longer. So I'm going to be doing it for 22 days. I already started. So today's day 4. So if you want to join me, you don't have to do 22 days. I mean, if you've never done 22 days, it might be a little much for some people. So instead, I wouldn't say start out on 22 days. I would suggest something less. 7 days is a good amount. In the Flow State app, if you don't have it already, download it at theflowstate.app. You can do it's called the Total Life Cleanse. That's a program that we have that's really powerful. And then there's also the 7-day green smoothie cleanse. That's a more simplified option. So there's different ones, but I would suggest at least 7 days. But the thing is, the eclipse portal is 2 weeks. So if you want to kind of consider, let me give you a few reasons why it's important or why it can be beneficial, because you might be like, what's the point? Here's the thing. When you do a cleanse, what you're literally doing is you're helping your body release toxins, any frequencies, any energies that's not in the highest vibration, right? Because think about it. Your gut is full of like literal shit, right? I mean, I hate to say it, but it's true. So like when you get all the shit out of you, right, all of a sudden what happens? You're clean and you're clear. And what happens is that your body actually produces over 90% of your happiness hormones are produced in your gut. So it can boost your mood tremendously. Like just that alone is worth it. But the other thing is any other things that you've been struggling with, whether it's physically with your health, emotionally, or even mentally, as well as I would say financially even. Because what it does is it seems to clear out the blocks to the flow and then allow flow to enter into your life again in a better way. And I'll give you a reason why, if you think about it like this. Because everything that you've brought in has a vibration. Now this is going to seem really maybe for some people out there, but it's interesting. So let's say when you were eating dinner a couple days ago, or lunch or something, you were eating, but while you were consuming this food, you were thinking a toxic thought, or you were feeling a toxic emotion, and you're eating the food. So what you're actually doing is bringing more energy of that in to you, and now it's carried in the vibration of the food, and now it's in your gut. Some people might not believe this, but this is the way I see it. So now this frequency of toxic whatever happened in that moment is literally like in your gut, and it's carrying a vibration, and it doesn't assimilate as well, it doesn't digest as well, you don't get the nutrients from it properly, but beyond all that, it blocks the flow of these happiness hormones, right? The anandamide, there's a hormone that they have, it's called anandamide, which is a bliss compound that's produced within your hormonal system. So in order to access bliss compounds that are produced in your hormonal system, you have to clear out all these blocks in the gut. A lot of people think it's just in the mind, but it's not. Like if you do all this bliss meditation but your gut is all messed up, you can't really get there. So what I suggest is doing both. You do the gut clearing, right? That's the cleanse, where you're going to get everything out and you're just going to bring in nutrients and minerals and electrolytes and vitamins and hydration, and that's what the cleanse is about. And then get all the other stuff out. So you're clearing the system, rebooting yourself with tons of nutrients, with lots of good energy. Hydration is one of the keys. But also, when you think I need food, it's also giving your mind like a deeper program of knowing that you are fine, that you don't need all these things that you think you need. So instead of feeling like I don't have enough, or I need all these things that I don't have, like this feeling of hungry, which I don't think being hungry is a bad thing. It's a natural response, but the feeling of that can lead to a feeling of not enoughness, like that you're constantly hungry. And what I found from cleansing is that it cured my hypoglycemia, And hypoglycemia is where your blood sugars go up and down and you feel hungry all the time. You go into crashing, so you're starving. A lot of people use the word hangry. Hangry is when you're so hungry that you feel angry. Leave a comment if you've ever felt that way, where you're so hungry you get angry at people and you become aggressive. I used to be that way. I was so bad if like I didn't eat for like 2 hours, because I was into bodybuilding when I was younger and I was doing bikini modeling, and I was like so aggressive because I was like hangry all the time. And if I didn't have food, I'd be like, leave me alone, just like I was just like such a bitch about it, because I didn't know how to control my emotions. But it had more to do with this blood sugar. So once I cured that through the cleansing and fasting, it was a game changer, because now I never get hangry. I never even feel hungry, hardly. I mean, I do every now and again. It's not like a big deal. It doesn't control my life, and that's the key element here. It's not a matter of do you get hungry or not. It's like, does the feeling of hunger control your life and dictate your mood and energy? If so, this can help with that too. And there's many other things. If you have digestive issues, if you have any skin issues. I used to have acne really bad. I don't talk about this very much, but I had such bad acne that I was so embarrassed to be seen. I would never go anywhere without makeup, like cover up makeup, because I had so many zits and also scars. And it took me a long time to heal that. But I think one of the main things has to do with this gut cleansing and the balancing of the hormones, because acne is in large part predominantly coming from the gut and the hormones. A lot of people are like, oh, acne comes from sugar. Well, the reason people say that is because candida, which is triggered by having a lot of sugar, also causes acne. So if you're having a candida overgrowth, this cleanse can also help you with that. Candida causes a lot of bad symptoms: congestion, brain fog, lethargy, fatigue, bloating, so many things. So anyway, these are all many benefits of cleansing. That's why I'm such an advocate. And if you're in the flow state community, you might have seen some of the videos. I also did videos about coconut water fasting, which is a really nice one. I don't recommend doing that more than 3 days. That one's a little more intense because you have nothing but coconut water, but it's wonderful. It's like life-changing if you want to try that one. Right now, what I'm doing is smoothies, green juice, and more like just tea and stuff like that. So if you guys are interested in learning more, go to the flowstate.app, download the app, and you can see the Total Life Cleanse and the 7-Day Green Smoothie Cleanse in there. Anyway, those are two things I highly encourage you to do during the Eclipse Portal. And the Eclipse Portal is starting on Tuesday, which is the 25th. And it's in, I talked about this the other day on Instagram, it's in the sign of Scorpio and Taurus. So if you have Scorpio and Taurus in your chart anywhere, you might feel it even more. And I have it in my chart, so I'm definitely preparing. I'm like, I'm always just being proactive. You don't want to be smashed by life. You're like, you know what? I'm going to set myself up to win. I'll give you an example. For everybody who knows me and knows that I'm into psychedelic medicine, I actually, during the lockdown, during COVID, when I was living in Hawaii and Bali for the whole year, I was doing psilocybin microdosing every day for 1 year, and I was swimming with dolphins and dancing and doing yoga and meditation, and I wrote 300 pages of the Flow State book. So I haven't finished it because I have like 20 more pages left, but I put it on the back burner to finish some of the other things that we're doing for the Flow State. But the bottom line is, I'm a huge advocate as well, if you're struggling with your emotions and getting a lot of traumas and stuff, that psychedelic medicine can really help with that. It's scientifically studied and proven. There's a lot of research that backs that. And even now, a lot of states are making it legal in America. So I'm a huge advocate for anybody who wondered, I am. And actually, we're making a new product, which is not based on psilocybin, because psilocybin is still relatively illegal, but based on cannabis, which is more legal. And we have a cool product coming out for the holiday time, and it's a really interesting product with gummies. So I'll let you guys know more about that pretty soon. But anyway, these are little things that can help with your healing process, because what it does is it actually, I'll tell you how it works. Most people don't really know how it works. This is how psychedelic medicine works. Psychedelic medicine is an enlightened frequency of God that lives in a plant. Okay, so that's like the basis. Now, you can take that in. Now you consume it, whether it's cannabis, psilocybin, ayahuasca, wachuma. I mean, there's lots of different ones. But let's say, whatever, you pick one. I mean, they're all really different. I could give you more explanation a different day, but you pick one that you feel connecting to. Each one has a different effect. You pick one. Now what you're doing is you're bringing in the enlightened frequency of God into you through this ingestion of it, whatever, the plant. You can consume it, whatever you want to do. And then what it does is anything inside of you that's not in a vibrational match to that will come up to be released. That's, like, in a nutshell, how psychedelic medicine works. Does that make sense? So a lot of people think it's because you go on a trip and you see all these things and now you're... That's only a small part of it. And some psychedelic medicine does not even have that. It doesn't have trips. It doesn't have visuals. Like, a lot of it's just literally a vibration. And it's showing your vibration, your internal vibration, what it feels like to be in the highest vibrational state, to be in flow state, to be in God consciousness, to be in alignment with your highest self. It's showing you through a feeling, right? So that's like what psilocybin does. It's like such a high vibration. Some people end up crying or throwing up, or like it's intense because they're not used to being on that frequency. Now, for me, I started taking psychedelics when I was a kid. So I'm always used to being on the frequency, but it's just a matter of if there's any programs that are still running that are out of alignment with that frequency, it comes up. Now I just see it as a blessing. I'm like, it's like going to the bathroom. You got to get that out. You know what I mean? You're not going to hold it in. So you're just grateful for anything that will help these vibrations to get out so you can be in your God consciousness joy state, bliss and flow state, right? So whatever's in there that's not in the highest vibration of God consciousness and the highest flow state is coming out. Now, if you have a lot of that, it might not be pleasant. In fact, it might be so unpleasant that it will be like, this is painful, or I hate this. Like, that's why a lot of people form judgments about these things, because they're like, I've known people who say things like, I've done that before and it was horrible. For example, someone who did, let's say, ayahuasca, and then they were like, I did it, and it's like, I just threw up the whole time. It's like, well, that's saying that you have a lot you need to let go of. I would say that's the blessing. Like, what a gift. But if they didn't get to a place where they felt blissful, they'd be like, this is terrible. I'm never doing it again. But think about it. If you have so much low vibration toxicity, you got to go back a couple times before you get to the bliss. You can just go there in the first time usually if you have so much to let go of. So anyway, I highly encourage also during these portals, if you want or if you can, do any kind of psychedelic medicine that you feel called or that you have access to during and especially with meditation. So combining that with breath work, meditation, any kinds of practices that move energy, particularly dancing, yoga, anything that's moving energy and clearing energy, combined with that and combining it with the cleanse. And the other thing, combining it with journaling and getting clear about what it is that you're letting go of. Because as things come up, that's when you have the opportunity to really look at that and say, oh yeah, I'm letting go of this, I'm letting go of this, and make like a declaration of the soul and be like, I'm letting go of these things. And not just a little one, like, oh, I'm gonna let go of this, but more like, it's over. It's like when you do a breakup and you're like, never again, versus like, maybe we'll get back together. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's no getting back together. This shit is done. Bye. Peace. That's how you gotta be with everything in your life that's not serving you. Like, all the toxicity, it needs to go. Like, bye. Like, peace. And at the same time, really take your power back and be like, I am utilizing this opportunity, this experience, whatever you want to call it, to step into my highest self. And at the other side of this portal, which I like to call the eclipse like a portal. On the other side of this portal, that you are not going to be the same person, but in the best possible way. But think about it. If you're going to transform, I always like to think the visual of like the butterfly, right? It started as a caterpillar crawling on the ground. And then it's like, I'm ready to change. And so it crawls into a cocoon and literally dies. And then on the other side of that, it's like, wah! And then the wings come out, and it's like not even like identifiable as the same species. They don't look anything alike. So it's not like usually pleasant to be like, oh, I'm just going to transform myself. No, it's like painful. There's a death that's going to happen, probably, hopefully. I say welcome death with open arms. You say welcome death every time, because every time there's a death, there's a rebirth. And that rebirth is that up level. That rebirth is that transformation to the new vibration. And that's what you really been wanting, calling in. But if you try to do it in an easy, pleasant way, it's like, that's holding yourself back. You don't want to make it easier or pleasant. I mean, although I will say, the plant medicine does make it easier and more pleasant, and so does the yoga and the meditation and all these things. And the cleanse. This makes it easier and more pleasant. Why? Because you become more light. So all of this, if you have a lot of light flooding in to you, through you, supporting you, then nothing really is painful. Like even if you're dying, it's like a joy to die. And that's the beautiful thing. And even when I think about actual death, like when somebody transitions, like my mother passed away, I watched her in the hospital pass away. And when somebody passes away, you know, you could go like sadness, grief. But if you really look at it from the highest perspective, death is always a blessing, because it's always a transition into another state, and usually a better state. Whatever the next thing is better than the last thing. That is the law of evolution, is that as one form dies, the new form that's born is better. And so welcome the death and welcome that transformation. Let's see, we have a few comments here. Justine said, staying disciplined during a cleanse is the hardest part for me. Like telling people I'm on a cleanse and having them look at me funny, and then I feel guilty and I cave into eating. So then if that's your issue, then you can see that that's what you need to work on, which is like people pleasing, trying to like fit in, giving a crap what anybody thinks, like conforming to society, like all of those, you gotta like let those go. None of those are serving you. So you have to like literally realize that those feelings that are coming up are a blessing, because they're showing you what you need to let go of to evolve, to heal. Because the minute you say, oh yeah, I don't really care what anybody thinks, and you decide to stick to it because it's for you and not them, and that's when you up level. But as long as you like hold back and eat because you want to please other people, like you're just sabotaging your whole life evolution with that. So instead, you're stepping into your power. You're not going to care what anybody thinks. And in fact, you're going to become a role model. That's what happens 100% of the time. Literally, people always thought I was crazy because I've always been ahead of the curve in everything. I was doing juice cleansing on YouTube before anybody was even on YouTube. I mean, I made videos about juicing in 2007 or something. So, but like, you know, I've been doing this for so long, and now it's so popular. You see all these girls that like made a whole YouTube channel about juicing, and they're like, we're juicing every day. And it's like their whole brand is, so you can see. It's only a matter of time before other people get on board. If you're a leader, if you're a role model, if you're ahead of the game, celebrate that and be the leader, be the lion out in the front of the pack. Don't be the sheep waiting for everybody to see what they're doing. Like that's the old paradigm. The new paradigm is, I don't care what anybody thinks or does. I'm doing what's good for me, and I'm doing this because I know this is right. I'm getting the guidance about this internally because I listen to my intuition, and God is always giving me messages, and I am in tune with God's frequencies. So I am always just going to listen to that and nothing outside of me other than that. And so it is. That's it. Justine said, "Will we be sitting with any of these psychedelic medicines in Bali?" Well, actually, we can. I mean, we'll talk more about that in the WhatsApp group because I don't put it out publicly about that. But anyway, there are certain psychedelic medicines that we can do together in Bali, and we'll talk more about that. And I will see what people are interested in, because Bali is actually not legal in that sense because they're a Hindu country, and so they they're very against certain things, but at the same time there are things available there. So it's a very healing island. We'll talk about it in the WhatsApp group for everybody that's going to be with us in Bali, and we'll determine what everybody feels like doing. Jamie says, psychoactives are absolutely incredible and a huge part of our lives here. A lot of people don't understand our relationship to it, but we've let go of that too. Super blessed to even have Peruvian torchir and San Pedro, both cacti. My partner's done both many times. I've been his safety guardian on this side, so I've not done those yet, but when it calls, I'll answer. Scorpio, sun sign, Taurus, rising. Oh, so transformation, baby. Make love to your demons and transform. You are so cute, Jamie. Hey, yeah, aho to that. I mean, so if you got the Taurus rising and the Scorpio sun, you're going to feel this eclipse probably. But it's an interesting thing, because what they say about eclipses, instead of feeling like, oh no, I feel this eclipse and it's killing me, what it says is anything that's out of alignment with your highest self will come up and die or whatever, exit your life. And so if you're attached to it, it can feel painful. Or if you try to struggle with it, right? Like you want to hold on to it, anything, then you will suffer. But if you just go, like I said, that's why I started this conversation about being the observer, witnessing, because if you just see it as it is, you say, wow, that's exiting my life. Hallelujah. That's no longer in alignment. Thank God for that. And you literally can approach it. Oh my God, this puppy keeps throwing up. Papa. We're going to have to end soon. I don't know. I got to help him. Anyway, if you're not if you try to struggle with what wants to leave your life instead of allowing it to, that's when it's difficult, and that's when eclipses can feel painful. Like some people say, oh, these people left my life. Now I look at it as a blessing. I'm like, who should be leaving my life right about now? And then it's like, oh, good. Because then usually the theme of whatever needed to be resolved comes up, and they either show you if they're ready to evolve to a better relationship dynamic or if they're ready to exit your life. If someone's just a taker and you've been kind of sharing, hey, we need to have a better exchange here, and they're not willing to, it's okay. Peace. I love all beings, and not all of them deserve any bandwidth. Not all of them deserve any time in my life. So that's the confidence in knowing that you'll always attract better people when you let go of toxic ones. So that's also the one door closes, multiple doors open. It's not like you're losing anything. All you're losing is the dead weight that's not healthy, and you're gaining so much more, right? You're going to open a door, and there's going to be all these beautiful energies that are ready to support you in all the ways that you were calling in that weren't able to, because the bandwidth was blocked up by these toxic people that weren't showing up properly. So that's the way I see it. So if some people are leaving, or if certain things are ending, blessings. These are blessings and gifts, and just praise God and literally celebrate those things that leave, and just continuously. And this is something we do every day in Bali. We have a song that we sing together, which is called Thank You for This Day, Spirit. And so just thinking in that way, meditate on gratitude every day for the day, just for whatever it is, for waking up and breathing, for feeling, alive, for having food. Whatever the simplest thing you can think of to be grateful for is the foundation. It has to be, and it should be the foundation of your existence. And then from that feeling of gratitude, blessings come in. And even as things end and die, those are blessings. So you just look, it's all a blessing, and just continuously live in that place of gratitude. And so it is, and so it is. Okay, hopefully you guys are going to join me on the cleanse. If you do the cleanse, post it in your, if you're on Instagram, post it in your Instagram story, tag me. I'll share your post about your cleanse or whatever you're going to do. And I can't wait to hear about how it goes for you, because this is literally my secret sauce on how to create the absolute best energy for the very harsh universe eclipse portals that happen twice a year. They happen every year, twice a year. I remember one year, it was an awareness that I knew that a relationship that was ending already needed to end, and yet it was right at the eclipse when it all smashed, right? And it happened. But because I was in this flow state doing my microdosing every day, I was like, no worries. And I just called up my friend in Hawaii that had like a mansion on the beach. And I went to Hawaii, and it was like best case scenario. Instead of suffering with this girl that was being really rude to me, I left LA and I moved to Hawaii, and I had the best 6 months of the whole life, almost, just living in Hawaii, swimming with dolphins. So it's like sometimes, like, you know, literally just choosing your highest best case scenario and then being 100% committed to being in your highest self, and it can unfold for you in like such a beautiful way. And it doesn't mean that it's easy. Like internally, I had to go through a process of cord cutting and letting her go and feeling like forgiveness. I went through all that, which is important too. And if you guys want, I'm also happy to potentially lead a ceremony like that for our community in the app. And so feel free to let me know if you want that. And I would do it during this portal. Sometimes it's good at the beginning, sometimes it's good at the end, so we'll see. But anyway, I've done that in the past, and it was very, very helpful to the community, and everybody thanked me, and I felt really very confirmed that that can be a benefit for the community during these portals of eclipses. So let me know if you want me to do something like that. Also, we have Halloween coming up, and it's interesting because Halloween is also a portal of death. You know, they call it All Saints Day, and then there was like this kind of 3-day period where they would like honor the dead. That's what Halloween's about. That's why all these like skeletons and ghosts and stuff, because they're literally honoring the dead. So it's like a beautiful thing, because if you look at that, in America we have Halloween and it's honoring the dead. I don't think most people think of it that way. They just think costumes and candy. But it's literally like in the Dia de los Muertos, which is in Mexico, they do a whole ceremony of honoring the dead. It's a 3 or 4 day, like, with like parades and everything. Everybody dresses up like skeletons, and they're really honoring the dead. So if we think about it, like, we're honoring the dead. What is the dead? The dead is everything that's passed, everything that transitioned already, whether it was a loved one or something that was ready to go and didn't belong in our life anymore. Whatever it is, we honor that and we just lay it to rest. We live in the present and we celebrate as we look to the future and what we are creating and calling in, which is a beautiful, beautiful life. Anybody have any other questions before we complete for the day? I'm so happy that we got to spend this time together. I put on this fun costume because I was like, yeah, you know, why not? The day of Venus, and Venus is the goddess of love, and usually the color pink goes with that. So let's see. We had a few comments over here in YouTube. Let's see. Oh yeah, so that guy said, can man join the flow state? And that's absolutely yes. Come to Bali if you want, or you can do the online training. Let's see. Lori says, I totally started today too, drinking my coconut water. Oh, good. Be mentally there. I love your mantra. I need to learn from you on this. I don't have one. That's why I lost myself. Oh, well, yeah, do the mantra. It's definitely, I'm so happy and grateful. Everything worked out beyond my wildest dreams. That's my mantra. And if you feel that, you will see it creates miracles for you. Let's see. Anyway, all right, so we're going to get going for today. Definitely, if you're going to do the cleanse, tag me on Instagram. I'll repost you. And I love you all so much. I'm so grateful for our community. And if you have any friends that might want to watch this video, feel free to share this video. This video is on my YouTube channel, so you can share it there or whatever. But basically, you know, I think a lot of people are going through a lot right now, so I try to share as much as I can and help the community as much as possible. So anybody that can benefit from that, let them know. Also let them know they can download the Flow State app at the flowstate.app and do the cleanse with us. And it's really an amazing time. And also let me know if you would like me to share more on Instagram and YouTube, for example, about the cleanse or about any of these things, because it's helpful to get that feedback, because I have so much going on, but I do want to create the type of content that would be more beneficial to everyone. And I've been really meditating on what that is. I've been doing all these lives, which is good, but I think that not everybody can tune in for like 1 or 2 hours, which is the live. So, I think like 10 minutes of like a topic that I can share that's beneficial for the community. So if you have any requests, please feel free to let them know. You can put those in the comments of this video. Okay, sending you so much love, many blessings, and I'll see you again soon. Namaste.